And welcome back. So in this video, Lee is going to get the get value for 3D setup.
Right. All right. So let's jump back over into our noise CS file. We're going to take our 2D implementation of GetValue, copy it, paste it, go ahead and collapse our 2D version, add a new argument for float z in. Now for our implementation, the first part is going to say the same. We're still going to be using noise, signal, and persistence. We have to take into consideration our z-axis now. So we're going to multiply this as well. Well, technically we don't have to offset by 1,000,000 in Z because just the way we're only sampling in two-dimensional slices, we don't see the Z artifact across, with the exception of Perlin. I found that if we don't add 1,000,000 to the noise on the Perlin, then actually I think we still will see it where it crosses. Remember the artifact, and when we're showing the Perlin where we cross 0, we get the solid gray screen. So when everything crosses a whole number in Perlin, we'll still see that gray screen if we're dealing with a single octave.
Okay.
So, but just to keep everything consistent and to make sure that we get that nice rolling animation, I want to make sure we're treating all of our axes the same. So with our noises, we're going to have to implement the Z in on each one of them. So we'll bring that up. Lacrinarity, same thing. So we modify that as well. That is the changes that we need to make get values into 3D. So the hard part is getting it the first time. The second time through is just a couple more changes to handle the third axis. So the rest of it is going to be playing in Game Manager. So down here where we're relying on getting our get value, our 2D get value, we're going to change this up to be our third one, which is going to be X, Y, and our iteration through. This will give us our animation. We could call it at that, but before we run, what I want to do is start implementing a couple more public values up here. So the ones, there's no rule that says I have to keep all my publics together. I'll keep them down here with my noise. So we're going to make a public. This is going to be a noise.types, and I'm going to call this noise type. Now, the defaulted, I'm going to set it to noise types. Let's start with simplex. What I want to do is at the beginning of every update, I want to make sure that our noise type equals our noise type. So that one. Now, we could go through and implement and make a last noise type, or we could make up its property set up in such a way that it only checks and sends these changes when there has been a change instead of every single frame. But because this is just a demo and we're just experimenting, there's no point in going through all that extra code. But what this will allow us to do now is when we go in and run, we should have animated 2D noise. So if I go back to noise text, we have our iteration step here. So I could go through and set this to something. Is that a fairly fast animation?
So.
Or so let's set this
It's
to,
not super fast.
let's try 0.9.
That's faster.
So that's adjustable. But now we have this drop down.
Very nice.
So I can switch to Perlin. Or I could switch the value.
Awesome.
And we're going to be exposing all of those different properties with this as well. But we'll do that later on. I just wanted to start simply with getting the first one in place, which allows us to change our noise. And we've already had the ability to change our iteration step. But that's what I wanted to cover in this one. The next video, we're going to come back and we're going to set up 2 more methods for getting a range of values, because it'll be nice, instead of having to deal with the loop and checking one at a time, it would be, what I want to be able to do is ask the noise library and go, all right, starting at position X, Y, and Z, give me a block of noise that is, say, 200 pixels across or 128 pixels wide by 128 pixels high, and it can return that to me in a nice square texture that I can then take and directly assign into my GUI texture.
Okay.
Or I could send directly off to a material texture if I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right, fantastic. Well, with that, that's going to wrap up this video. Thank you guys very much.